What if I told you that missing your bus could make you a millionaire? That helping one stranger on the worst night of your life could lead to the best opportunity you've ever imagined? Jerome Washington thought he was having the unluckiest evening possible. Soaked to the bone. Missed his ride home. Walking through a storm with empty pockets and overdue bills waiting in his apartment. But when he saw those hazard lights flashing through the rain, when he made the split-second decision to stop and help an elderly stranger with a flat tire, he had no idea he was about to meet the one person who would change everything. You see, the old man standing helplessly beside that luxury sedan wasn't just any stranded motorist. And what happened next would prove that sometimes the universe rewards those who help others when they have nothing left to give. This is Jerome's story, and it started 12 hours earlier. The piercing shriek of Jerome's alarm cuts through the darkness at 5:47 a.m. He's instantly awake. Years of working multiple jobs have trained his body to respond without hesitation. The cramped studio apartment around him tells a story of careful survival. Every surface clean but worn, furniture that's seen better decades, a small stack of past due notices held down by his father's vintage pocket watch on the wobbly kitchen table. Jerome moves through his morning routine with quiet precision, mindful of the paper-thin walls that separate him from neighbors who work night shifts. His maintenance uniform hangs pressed and ready, a point of pride despite everything else falling apart around him. The crisp navy shirt and matching pants represent more than work clothes. They're his armor, his declaration that circumstances don't define character. In the tiny kitchen that's barely larger than a closet, Jerome counts his remaining bills twice. Rent due in 3 days, $850. Past due tuition payment for his pharmaceutical technology program, $1,200. Groceries for the week, $40 if he's careful, $25 if he's desperate. The math never works out, but Jerome performs this ritual anyway, hoping that somehow the numbers will rearrange themselves into possibility. His phone buzzes against the counter. Extra shift available tonight, Jerome. The loading dock needs help from 11 p.m. 6 a.m. Overtime pay. Sandra. Jerome stares at the text message, his stomach dropping. Taking the extra shift means missing tomorrow's chemistry lab, his third absence this semester. Missing 3 labs means automatic course failure. But refusing the shift means no grocery money for 2 weeks, and his growling stomach is already answering for him. Dad always said honest work pays honest wages, Jerome thinks, carefully placing the vintage pocket watch in his uniform pocket, his daily ritual for luck. Just wish honest wages paid honest bills. He types back, "I'll take it, thank you." 20 minutes later, Jerome walks through the gates of Morrison Manufacturing, a sprawling industrial complex that never sleeps. The machinery hums with constant purpose, and Jerome finds comfort in the predictable chaos. Here, problems have solutions. Broken conveyor belts can be fixed. Leaky pipes can be sealed. Malfunctioning equipment responds to the right touch, the proper tool, the knowledge passed down from his father. Jerome attacks his morning duties with focused intensity. He troubleshoots a temperature control system that's been acting up for weeks, recalibrates a filling machine that other techs have given up on, and replaces worn gaskets in the hydraulic press. Every task completed with the precision his father taught him. Measure twice, cut once, and always leave things better than you found them. During his lunch break, Jerome retreats to the break room with his chemistry textbook and a sleeve of crackers, all he can afford until payday. Molecular structures and reaction equations fill his vision as he forces his tired brain to absorb complex formulas. The pharmaceutical technology program represents his escape route from this cycle of barely surviving, but the path feels impossibly steep some days. Still hitting those books hard, Jerome? Maria, one of the line supervisors, slides into the chair across from him. She's been at Morrison for 15 years, worked her way up from the factory floor, and always takes time to check on the younger employees. "Every spare minute I can find," Jerome replies, not looking up from a diagram of protein synthesis. "Your daddy would be proud, you know. Robert was the same way. Always learning, always growing." Jerome's throat tightens at the mention of his father. 3 years since the heart attack took him. 3 years of carrying dreams and responsibilities that feel too heavy for one person's shoulders. Through the break room window, Jerome watches a sleek black town car glide up to the executive entrance. The vehicle is understated but expensive, the kind of quiet wealth that doesn't need chrome and flash to announce its presence. A uniformed driver opens the rear door for someone Jerome can't see from this angle. "Must be nice," Maria observes, following his gaze. "Different world," Jerome agrees, returning to his textbook. The afternoon shift drags by in a blur of routine maintenance and emergency repairs. Jerome's hands work automatically while his mind wrestles with impossible choices. Take the night shift and fail chemistry. Skip the shift and face eviction. The equation never balances. By 10:30 p.m., exhaustion weighs on Jerome's shoulders like a physical thing. The extra shift doesn't start for 30 minutes, but he's already been working for 17 hours straight. His reflection in the bathroom mirror shows tired eyes and worry lines that seem too deep for someone only 28 years old. Outside, rain has started. Light drops that promise heavier weather ahead. Jerome hurries toward the bus stop, backpack heavy with textbooks he'll probably be too tired to open tonight. The 10:45 bus represents his only chance to grab a few hours of sleep before the loading dock shift begins. But as Jerome rounds the corner, he watches the bus pull away, its taillights disappearing into the growing darkness. He checks his phone. Next bus in 2 hours. The loading dock shift starts in 20 minutes. Jerome stands at the empty bus stop, rain beginning to soak through his uniform. The walk home will take 2 hours in good weather, probably 3 in this storm. He'll miss the night shift, lose the overtime pay, and still face tomorrow's chemistry lab with no sleep and no money. Sometimes it feels like the universe is testing how much one person can take, Jerome thinks, pulling up his hood against the rain. But what Jerome didn't know was that sometimes the universe's hardest tests come right before its greatest rewards. Mile marker 47 on Route 15. The rain has transformed from annoying drizzle to punishing downpour, turning the night into a gray curtain that makes everything beyond 10 feet disappear. Jerome maintains his steady pace despite water squelching through his worn sneakers with every step. Chemistry formulas cycle through his mind, his way of staying focused, staying warm, staying sane during this endless walk home. Molecular weight of aspirin, 180.106 grams per mole. Synthesis pathway requires salicylic acid and acetic anhydride. The highway stretches ahead like a river of asphalt, empty except for the occasional truck that sends spray cascading across the shoulder where Jerome walks. Each vehicle that passes without stopping reminds him how alone he is out here, how far he still has to go. Then, cutting through the storm like a beacon, headlights appear ahead. Not moving, just sitting there, hazard lights blinking in a rhythm that screams distress. As Jerome gets closer, details emerge from the rain-soaked darkness. An expensive sedan, luxury written in every line, from the perfect paint job to the way it sits low and confident even while stranded. This isn't some beaten-up commuter car. This is transportation for someone who expects the world to work properly. But tonight, the world isn't cooperating. An elderly white man stands beside the driver's side door, and even in the storm, Jerome can see the quality of his clothes. The crisp lines of his shirt remain visible despite the weather. His slacks look like they cost more than Jerome makes in a month. His shoes, leather, expensive, the kind that are probably handmade, reflect the hazard lights like mirrors. Yet there's something vulnerable about him standing in the rain, something that transcends class and circumstance. His hands shake slightly as he holds his phone. Whether from cold, frustration, or age, Jerome can't tell. "Excuse me," the man calls out as Jerome approaches, his voice carrying clearly over the hammering rain. "You wouldn't happen to know anything about changing tires, would you?" Jerome stops, rain streaming from his maintenance cap. Up close, the man appears to be in his 70s, silver hair perfectly styled despite the weather, dignified bearing that suggests someone accustomed to having problems solved for him. But right now, he's just another stranded motorist, and Jerome's father taught him that everyone deserves help when they need it. "I can take a look, sir," Jerome offers, raising his voice against the storm. "Do you have a spare?" Relief floods the old man's face like a sunrise. "Should be in the trunk, yes. I'm afraid my roadside assistance says it'll be hours in this weather, and He glances at his watch. Expensive, definitely custom-made, with obvious anxiety. "I have somewhere very important to be." Jerome nods, already moving toward the back of the car. The old man follows, producing keys attached to a distinctive silver fob. Even through the rain, Jerome notices how the keychain catches the light. Understated, but clearly custom work, the kind of detail that whispers rather than shouts about wealth. The trunk opens with a soft hydraulic hiss, revealing an interior that looks more like a luxury hotel room than car storage. Everything is immaculate, organized, and expensive. The spare tire sits in its designated compartment alongside an emergency kit that appears professional grade. Road flares, reflective triangles, tools that cost more than Jerome's monthly grocery budget. But it's what Jerome glimpses pushed to one side that makes him pause. A leather briefcase, corners worn smooth from years of use, initials AB embossed in understated gold lettering. The kind of briefcase that suggests boardrooms and important decisions, power exercised quietly but absolutely. "You come prepared," Jerome observes, genuinely impressed as he examines the emergency kit. The old man chuckles, a sound that carries warmth despite the circumstances. "Habit of a lifetime, I suppose. Though I'll admit, I haven't actually changed a tire myself in, decades." Jerome begins the methodical process his father drilled into him years ago. Loosen the lug nuts before raising the car. Position the jack on solid frame points, never on body panels. Work systematically, safely, thoroughly. The rain makes everything twice as difficult, but muscle memory takes over. "I'm Albert, by the way," the old man says, holding a flashlight steady despite the weather. "Albert Harrison." "Jerome Washington, sir. Pleasure to meet you even under these circumstances." Albert asks about Jerome's work, his studies, listening with the kind of genuine attention that suggests someone accustomed to evaluating people quickly and accurately. When Jerome mentions his pharmaceutical technology program, Albert's interest sharpens noticeably. "Smart field," Albert observes, his voice carrying subtle approval. "Growing industry. Takes real dedication to balance work and school." "Yes, sir. My father always said education was the one thing nobody could take away from you." Something shifts in Albert's expression, recognition, perhaps memory of similar lessons from his own past. "Wise man. Did he raise you alone?" "After my mother passed, yes, sir. Taught me everything about fixing things, treating people right, earning your way in the world." Albert nods thoughtfully, filing away this information with obvious care. The flat tire comes free with a wet sucking sound, and Jerome works efficiently despite the cold and exhaustion. Professional instincts override personal discomfort. But what neither man knew was that this chance encounter was about to set in motion events that would change both their lives forever. The spare tire slides into place with mechanical precision. Jerome's movements are fluid, practiced. Every motion learned from watching his father work on countless vehicles in their backyard garage years ago. The rain hasn't let up, but he barely notices anymore. When you're focused on helping someone, discomfort becomes secondary. "There you go, sir," Jerome says, tightening the final lug nut with careful torque. "Should get you where you need to be safely." Albert checks his expensive watch again, the gesture automatic, urgent. Even in the storm, Jerome notices how naturally the motion comes, like someone accustomed to measuring time in minutes that matter to more than just himself. "Outstanding work," Albert says with genuine admiration in his voice. "Are you sure you haven't done this professionally?" Jerome wipes his hands on his already soaked uniform, rain still streaming down his face. I just learned from watching my dad work. He could fix anything that rolled, walked, or crawled. He begins gathering the tools, organizing them back into Albert's emergency kit with the same care he'd use for his own equipment. His father taught him that. You always leave other people's things better than you found them. Albert reaches for his wallet, hands trembling slightly, whether from cold, adrenaline, or age. Please, let me pay you something. This is worth more than you know. No, sir. Jerome interrupts gently but firmly, continuing to pack the tools. Just glad I could help. But you missed your transportation. You're soaked through. This has cost you time, effort. Cost me nothing that matters, Jerome replies, loading the flat tire into the trunk. His father's voice echoes in his memory. Help others not because they can pay you back, son, but because it's what decent people do. Albert studies Jerome's face in the flashlight's glow, seeing something that clearly impresses him beyond the mechanical competence. The rain continues hammering both men, but neither seems anxious to end this moment. At least let me drive you home, Albert insists, his tone carrying quiet authority mixed with genuine concern. It's the least I can do after what you've done for me. Jerome hesitates. His apartment is miles away through industrial districts and neighborhoods that don't improve after midnight. The walk would take 2 hours in this weather, and he still has studying to squeeze in before tomorrow's obligations. But every urban survival instinct screams against getting into cars with strangers, regardless of how well-dressed they are. Albert seems to read his thoughts, reaching into his jacket with careful, unthreatening movements. I understand the hesitation completely. Smart to be careful. He produces his driver's license, offering it for inspection. Albert Benjamin Harrison. Clean record, I promise you. The gesture touches Jerome deeply. The vulnerability of offering identification, the acknowledgement of Jerome's legitimate caution. It's the kind of respectful understanding that suggests someone who thinks about other people's perspectives. Jerome makes his decision. That's very kind of you, Mr. Harrison. I'd appreciate it. Inside the sedan, Jerome notices details that reinforce his earlier observations. The interior is immaculate, but not ostentatious, quality that whispers rather than shouts. Classical music plays softly from speakers that probably cost more than Jerome's monthly rent. The dashboard includes navigation systems more sophisticated than anything Jerome's encountered, but everything is tastefully integrated. Albert drives with obvious care, clearly shaken by the tire incident. Haven't had car trouble in years, he admits, navigating carefully through the storm. Forgot how helpless it makes you feel. Happens to everyone eventually, Jerome replies diplomatically. Not everyone stops to help a stranger in weather like this, though. They drive in comfortable silence for several minutes. Jerome provides directions toward his apartment complex, noting how Albert navigates the industrial district with surprising familiarity, as if these roads aren't foreign territory despite his obvious wealth. This is me, Jerome says as they pull up to his building. Modest, clean, working class, decent, but nothing more. Albert turns in his seat, studying Jerome with that same intense attention he's shown throughout their encounter. Jerome. It is Jerome, right? What you did tonight meant more than you know. Just what anyone would do, sir. No, Albert says firmly, voice carrying conviction. Not anyone. Not in weather like this. Not when they had their own problems to worry about. He pauses, seems to wrestle with something internally. What's your last name, son? Washington. Jerome Washington. Albert nods, clearly filing this information with visible care. He reaches into his coat pocket, produces a simple white business card with the deliberate motion of someone making an important decision. I want you to have this. Jerome accepts it politely but doesn't examine it. He's focused on Albert's face, recognizing that something significant is happening behind the older man's eyes. If you ever need anything at all, you call that number, day or night. That's very kind, sir, but promise me, Albert interrupts, his voice suddenly carrying unmistakable authority. Promise me you'll keep that card. The intensity surprises Jerome. This isn't casual politeness. This is something deeper, more purposeful. I promise, Mr. Harrison. Albert extends his hand for a farewell shake. His grip is firm despite his age, hands showing the subtle calluses of someone who once worked with them regularly, before success moved him behind desks and into boardrooms. Thank you, Jerome Washington, for everything. Jerome climbs out into the rain, waves as the sedan pulls smoothly away into the night. He stands for a moment watching the taillights disappear, then hurries toward his building entrance. Inside his apartment, Jerome peels off his soaked uniform, hangs it carefully over the bathroom door to dry for tomorrow's shift. Only then does he remember the business card, pulling it from his damp pocket. The card is simple, elegant, heavy stock, understated typography that suggests expense without flash. Albert B. Harrison, Chief Executive Officer, Harrison Industries. Direct line, 555, Harrison. Jerome stares at the card, recognition dawning slowly like sunrise. Harrison Industries. He's seen that name on delivery trucks around the city, construction equipment at job sites, the occasional news article about local business leadership. A major regional employer, known for manufacturing and logistics operations. CEO, Jerome thinks, propping the card against his kitchen counter next to the stack of unpaid bills. That explains the car, the expensive watch, the way he carried himself. But he was so normal, real. He pulls out his chemistry textbook, tries to focus on molecular structures and reaction pathways, but his mind keeps drifting to the encounter, the intensity in Albert Harrison's eyes when he insisted on the business card, the way the older man had studied him like he was memorizing something important. What Jerome couldn't know was that 20 blocks away, Albert Harrison was sitting in his home office, staring at a legal pad where he'd written a single name, already planning something that would change both their lives forever. Albert Harrison's home office, 2:47 a.m. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the city's financial district, expensive furniture arranged with the precision of someone who values both aesthetics and functionality. But Albert sits at his mahogany desk, still wearing his rain-dampened shirt, staring at a yellow legal pad where he's written in careful handwriting. Jerome Washington, pharmaceutical tech student, Morrison Manufacturing, maintenance department. Father deceased, was a mechanic missed transportation to help complete stranger, refused payment on principal. Character assessment, exceptional. A soft knock interrupts his thoughts. Margaret Stevens appears in the doorway despite the impossibly late hour. Margaret has been Albert's executive assistant for 15 years, reads his moods like weather patterns, and somehow always knows when he needs support. Sir, you missed the quarterly board dinner tonight. Several members called when you didn't arrive. They were concerned. Albert looks up, genuinely surprised by the time. The board dinner, of course. He gestures vaguely at his damp clothes. Had some car trouble. Got delayed helping someone. Margaret notices the mud on his expensive shoes, the way his usually impeccable appearance shows signs of manual labor. Are you injured? Do you need medical attention? I'm fine, Margaret. Better than fine, actually. Albert's expression grows thoughtful, distant. Tell me, what do we know about our maintenance contractors these days? Sir? Morrison Manufacturing. They handle our equipment service contracts, don't they? Margaret consults her ever-present tablet, fingers moving efficiently across the screen. Yes, sir. 6-year relationship. Reliable service record, competitive pricing, good safety statistics. Why do you ask? Albert makes another note on his legal pad. Just curious about their employees. Their hiring practices, employee development programs, that sort of thing. I can have human resources pull their contract details and personnel policies if you'd like. Tomorrow morning, Albert says, but handle it discreetly. I don't want anyone feeling like they're being investigated or scrutinized. Margaret recognizes the tone, Albert in strategic planning mode, the mental gears turning on some new initiative she can't yet see. She's learned over the years not to question these moments. They usually lead to his most innovative decisions. After Margaret leaves, Albert opens his laptop, begins researching pharmaceutical technology programs at area community colleges. He finds Jerome's school, reviews course catalogs, tuition costs, graduation statistics, career placement rates. Everything painted a picture of opportunity constrained by resources. The young man has real goals, Albert thinks, making more notes. Not just dreams or wishes, but concrete plans. And the character to back them up. When's the last time I met someone who turned down money purely on principle? He writes additional observations. Community college tuition, $3,200 per semester. Pharmaceutical technician, median starting salary, $35,000. Morrison employee benefits, basic coverage only. Jerome's potential, clearly unlimited. Albert reaches for his phone to call someone, then stops. Too late for business calls, and this situation requires careful thought, proper planning. He's built Harrison Industries by recognizing talent before others notice it, investing in people before they fully believe in themselves. But tonight feels different, more personal, more important than usual business decisions. He walks to his window, looks out at the city where Jerome Washington is probably still studying despite exhaustion, despite financial pressure, despite odds that would discourage most people. The image of the young man working in the rain, refusing payment, insisting that helping others cost nothing that matters, replays in Albert's mind. Albert opens his desk drawer, revealing a framed photograph he keeps private. A much younger Albert standing beside his own father, both wearing work clothes, both smiling beside a partially assembled engine. The resemblance to tonight's encounter is unmistakable, and Albert recognizes the moment as something approaching destiny. Meanwhile, across town in his studio apartment, Jerome forces himself through 2 chapters of organic chemistry, despite eyes that blur with fatigue. His uniform hangs nearby, still damp but drying for tomorrow's early shift. The business card catches his peripheral vision periodically, but he pushes away thoughts of calling some wealthy stranger for favors. Rich people give out cards all the time, Jerome tells himself. Social politeness, that doesn't mean anything real. Dad always said the only person who can truly change your life is yourself. At 3:30 a.m., Jerome finally closes his textbooks, sets his alarm for 6 a.m. 4.5 hours of sleep before another double shift begins. He glances once more at Albert's business card, then slides it carefully into his chemistry textbook as a bookmark. But what Jerome didn't realize was that some bookmarks are meant to mark new chapters, not just remember old pages. The next morning brought signs that Jerome's simple act of kindness had set much bigger wheels in motion than he could have imagined. Jerome arrives at Morrison Manufacturing to find unusual activity buzzing through the front office. Well-dressed visitors in expensive suits cluster around the reception area, consulting tablets and speaking in hushed, urgent tones that suggest important business being conducted. Sandra Reeves, the plant manager, spots Jerome clocking in and approaches with an expression he can't quite read, somewhere between nervous and excited. Jerome, I need you to focus on Building C today. We've got some consultants reviewing our operations. Everything okay? Jerome asks, noting the tension in her voice, the way her eyes dart toward the suited visitors. Just routine business evaluation stuff. But stay sharp today, okay? Do your usual excellent work. Throughout the morning, Jerome notices the consultants moving systematically through the facility, observing workflows, photographing equipment, interviewing supervisors with clipboard precision. They pay particular attention to maintenance operations, asking detailed questions about procedures, training protocols, employee satisfaction metrics. During his lunch break, Jerome overhears 2 office workers talking by the vending machines. Harrison Industries is considering major expansion of their service contracts. Could mean more work for us, or could mean they're planning changes to staffing. Never seen this level of scrutiny before. They're evaluating everything. Jerome's stomach tightens. Harrison Industries, the exact same company from Albert's business card. Coincidence seems impossible, but what else could explain it? One of the consultants, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s wearing a charcoal business suit, approaches Jerome while he's calibrating a conveyor system. Her movements are purposeful, professional. "Excuse me, are you Jerome Washington?" Jerome's pulse quickens. She knows his name. "Yes, ma'am." "I'm Jennifer Martinez from Harrison Industries Corporate Development. Could I ask you a few questions about your maintenance procedures and problem-solving approaches?" The questions are thorough, professional, but Jerome senses she's evaluating far more than just technical knowledge. She asks about his diagnostic methods, his interactions with coworkers, his approach to training newer employees, his long-term goals in the industry. "You mentioned you're studying pharmaceutical technology," she notes, making careful notes on her tablet. "Interesting combination with mechanical aptitude." "I like understanding how things work," Jerome replies carefully, "whether it's machines or molecules." Jennifer's eyes sharpen with interest. "And you enjoy helping others solve problems?" "It's what I'm good at, ma'am." After she leaves, Jerome's coworker Rick sidles over, curiosity written all over his face. "What was that interrogation about?" "Don't know," Jerome admits honestly. "She said it was a routine operational evaluation." That evening, Sandra calls Jerome aside before his shift ends, her expression serious but not unfriendly. "Jerome, I want you to know, whatever comes of these corporate consultations, you've been specifically flagged as one of our top performers. The feedback about you was, let's just say, exceptionally positive." "Feedback from who exactly?" Sandra hesitates, choosing her words carefully. "Let's just say someone with significant influence was very impressed with your character and capabilities." What Jerome didn't realize was that his evening was about to bring answers he never expected and questions he never thought to ask. The call that would change Jerome's life forever came at exactly 6:17 p.m. on what had started as an ordinary Tuesday. Jerome's apartment, the familiar routine of post-shift exhaustion settling over him like a worn blanket. He's heating a can of soup on his tiny stove, dinner and tomorrow's breakfast if he's careful with portions, when his phone rings. Unknown number, local area code. "Hello? Jerome Washington?" The voice is familiar, but he can't immediately place it through the phone's speaker. "Yes, sir, this is Jerome. This is Albert Harrison, from the other night. The tire situation in the rain." Jerome nearly drops his phone. Of all the possible explanations for today's strange events at work, Albert Harrison calling him directly wasn't even on the list. "Mr. Harrison? How are you, sir? Is everything all right with your car?" "The car's fine, thank you. And I hope you won't think this presumptuous, but I was wondering if you might have some time to meet tomorrow. There's something important I'd like to discuss with you." Jerome's mind races, connecting dots he didn't even know existed. The consultants at Morrison, the detailed questions about his work performance, the pointed interest in his pharmaceutical studies. Now this call. "Of course, sir. Is this about what happened at my workplace today?" Perceptive question. "Yes, partly. What I have in mind might be... Well, let's discuss it in person. Are you available around noon tomorrow? I can send a car to pick you up." "I can meet you somewhere, Mr. Harrison. You don't need to send..." "Jerome." Albert's voice carries that same gentle authority Jerome remembers from the highway. "Let me send the car. We have a great deal to talk about, and I want you to be comfortable." The next day, Jerome waits outside his apartment building in his best clothes, clean khakis, pressed button-down shirt, his father's vintage watch gleaming against his wrist. The town car arrives with precision timing, the driver holding a sign reading J. Washington, like he's someone important enough to warrant professional transportation. The drive takes them not to a restaurant or coffee shop, but directly to Harrison Industries headquarters, a gleaming 20-story tower of steel and glass that dominates several city blocks. Jerome has driven past this building countless times but never imagined stepping inside. Albert meets him personally in the marble lobby, a gesture that draws curious glances from impeccably dressed employees. Up close, in his natural element, Albert radiates quiet but unmistakable power. Expensive suit, tailored to perfection, confident bearing, but that same genuine warmth Jerome remembers from their rain-soaked encounter. "Thank you for coming, Jerome. I hope the ride was comfortable." "Yes, sir, though I have to admit I'm very curious about what this is concerning." Albert's smile carries mysterious undertones. "Let's go upstairs. I want to show you something that I think will interest you greatly." The executive elevator rises smoothly to the 18th floor, high enough that Jerome can see the entire city spread out below. Albert's corner office is impressive without being ostentatious. Awards and commendations on the walls, photographs that suggest decades of business relationships, furniture that speaks of success earned through consistent achievement. "Please, sit down." Albert gestures toward a leather chair positioned across from his desk. "Can I offer you coffee? Water? Anything?" "I'm fine, thank you." Jerome perches on the chair's edge, alert and uncertain about where this conversation is heading. Albert settles behind his desk, fingers steepled in a gesture that suggests careful consideration. "Jerome, how much do you actually know about Harrison Industries?" "Not a tremendous amount, sir. I know you're a major regional employer, handle manufacturing and logistics operations. Good reputation in the community." "We've been in business for 43 years, Albert begins, his voice taking on the tone of someone sharing something meaningful. "Started by my father in a rented warehouse with exactly 6 employees. Built on a simple but powerful principle. Find genuinely good people, invest in their potential, treat them with respect and dignity." Jerome nods politely, still wondering where this leads but beginning to sense its importance. "My father used to say that a person's true character reveals itself in small, unguarded moments when no one important is watching." Albert pauses meaningfully, his gaze intensifying. "The other night, Jerome, I was just a stranded old man standing in the rain. You had absolutely no idea who I was, nothing to gain by helping me. You missed your transportation, got completely soaked, and refused any payment. You helped me because it was simply the right thing to do." Albert stands, begins pacing with controlled energy. "What you did was exactly what my father would have done, what he taught me to do. And it got me thinking seriously about something we've been planning here for months." He opens a folder on his desk, slides a document across to Jerome. The header reads, "Harrison Industries Educational Partnership Program, Implementation Proposal." Jerome scans the document, seeing his own name highlighted in multiple places. His pulse quickens as he realizes the scope of what he's reading. "Mr. Harrison, I don't understand exactly what—" "Jerome," Albert interrupts, leaning forward with intense focus. "I spent yesterday learning everything I could about you. Your work record at Morrison is exemplary. Supervisors call you reliable, innovative, someone who genuinely cares about excellence. Your community college professors describe you as one of their most dedicated students despite working full-time." Albert returns to his window, looking out over the city with the air of someone making a momentous decision. "But more important than any of that, you have something that absolutely cannot be taught. Integrity, character, the instinct to help others succeed even when it costs you personally." He turns back to Jerome, expression serious but radiating warmth. "I'd like to offer you something extraordinary. Full scholarship to complete your pharmaceutical technology degree, guaranteed paid internship in our new medical equipment division, and after graduation, a position as a pharmaceutical technical specialist, starting salary $55,000 annually." Jerome stares in complete shock, speechless. The numbers don't compute. It's more money than he's ever imagined earning, opportunity beyond his wildest dreams. But Albert Harrison wasn't finished revealing exactly how much this opportunity would mean. Jerome sits in stunned silence, staring at documents that represent a complete transformation of everything he thought possible for his future. Numbers that seemed like fantasy yesterday now appear in official letterhead, detailed and tangible and real. "Mr. Harrison," he finally manages, his voice barely steady, I honestly don't know what to say." Albert returns to his chair, expression patient but intense with purpose. "Say you'll consider it very carefully. Because, Jerome, There's significantly more to this opportunity than I've shown you yet. He opens another folder, this one considerably thicker, filled with architectural drawings, business plans, and financial projections that span multiple pages. What I'm about to share with you is confidential corporate information, but I want you to understand the complete scope of what we're building together. Albert spreads the technical drawings across his desk with the care of someone unveiling a masterpiece. Harrison Industries is launching an entirely new division, Medical Technology Solutions. We're partnering with 3 major regional hospitals and 2 research facilities to develop and manufacture specialized pharmaceutical equipment. Jerome leans forward, studying the sophisticated specifications. Even with his limited experience, he can recognize the advanced nature of the proposed systems. Automated dispensing units, precision measurement devices, comprehensive quality control instruments that represent cutting-edge technology. This is incredible engineering, Jerome breathes, genuinely awed. It absolutely is. And it's going to revolutionize how medications are prepared, verified, and distributed in clinical settings throughout this entire region. Albert's voice carries the excitement of someone describing a cherished vision years in the making. But here's what makes this truly special. We're not just building equipment. We're building careers, creating pathways to success. Albert points to a detailed section labeled Regional Training and Development Center. This facility will train pharmaceutical technicians not just for our company, but for hospitals, clinics, and research facilities across 4 states. We're creating a comprehensive pipeline of highly skilled workers, raising industry standards, providing clear pathways to middle-class careers for people who might otherwise never get these opportunities. The scope takes Jerome's breath away completely. How many people are you talking about training? Phase 1 implementation. 50 direct employees here, with training capacity for 200 new technicians annually. Phase 2. Expansion. Serving the entire southeastern region, potentially training over 1,000 qualified professionals per year. Albert fixes Jerome with that intense, evaluating gaze he's learning to recognize. Jerome, I want you to be part of building this from the ground up, not just as an employee following orders, but as a leader helping shape how it develops. Someone who understands both the technical requirements and the human elements involved. He slides another document across the desk, an organizational chart showing Jerome's name prominently displayed in a box labeled Senior Pharmaceutical Technical Specialist, Training Program Coordinator. This position includes direct oversight of our comprehensive training programs. You'd help design curricula, mentor new technicians, work directly with hospital partners to ensure our graduates meet real-world professional needs. The starting salary is $65,000. Not 55, as I mentioned before. Jerome's hands tremble slightly as he examines the organizational structure. Mr. Harrison, I'm still a student myself. I don't have nearly enough experience to... You have something infinitely more valuable than experience, Albert interrupts firmly. You have the genuine instinct to help others succeed. The same instinct that made you stop in that storm, that makes you excel at your current job despite being overworked and underpaid. Albert stands, begins pacing with the energy of someone outlining a crucial long-term strategy. Jerome, I've built this company by recognizing talent before others notice it, investing in people before they fully believe in themselves. Your technical skills can be developed, your knowledge base expanded systematically. But integrity, work ethic, the sincere desire to lift others up, those essential qualities absolutely cannot be taught. He stops pacing, faces Jerome directly with complete seriousness. I'm not offering you charity or doing you a favor. I'm offering you partnership in building something that will genuinely matter, something that will create meaningful opportunities for hundreds of other people facing exactly the same challenges you've been facing. Jerome feels overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of it all. What would you need from me in return? Complete commitment, full dedication to finishing your education with absolute excellence. Willingness to learn not just pharmaceutical technology, but leadership principles, program development, quality management systems, and the courage to step into a role that will challenge you professionally every single day. Albert returns to his desk, pulls out a comprehensive document package. This contains the complete offer details, benefits package, advancement timeline, everything. Take it home, read it thoroughly, discuss it with anyone you trust completely. But Jerome... He pauses, his voice growing serious. This opportunity operates on a specific timeline. We're launching this division in exactly 18 months. If you're going to be part of building it from the foundation, I need your decision within 2 weeks. Jerome accepts the package with hands that still shake slightly. The folder represents more change than he's experienced in his entire adult life. Mr. Harrison, can I ask you something directly? Why me specifically? I mean, why go to this trouble? Albert's expression softens, becomes almost paternal in its warmth. Because 43 years ago, a young man helped my father change a tire during a terrible snowstorm. Refused any payment, just said helping was the right thing to do. My father never forgot that simple kindness, and when he had the opportunity, he hired that young man. Taught him the business, treated him like family. Jerome listens intently, sensing there's something deeper, more personal in this story. That young man eventually became my father's business partner and helped build Harrison Industries into what it is today. His name was Robert Washington. Jerome's breath catches in his throat. Washington? Your grandfather, Jerome. He never mentioned working with the Harrison family. The room spins slightly. Jerome grips the chair arms, memories flooding back. His grandfather's stories about Mr. Harrison Sr., about opportunities that changed everything, about building something meaningful that would last. But there was still one more connection Albert hadn't revealed yet, one that would prove this truly was destiny coming full circle. 6 months later, Jerome's transformation had become the catalyst for changes that rippled far beyond what anyone could have predicted. The transformation. Before, Jerome's cramped studio apartment, chemistry textbooks stacked precariously on a wobbly table, past due notices scattered like fallen leaves around his father's vintage watch. After, a bright one-bedroom apartment across town, dedicated study area with brand-new textbooks, framed scholarship certificate hanging proudly on the wall beside his father's photograph. Before, Jerome rushing through rain to catch the last bus after exhausting double shifts, worried and bone-tired. After, Jerome in professional business casual, carrying a leather portfolio, walking confidently through the glass doors of Harrison Industries for his paid internship. Before, missing chemistry lab sessions due to work schedule conflicts, falling behind despite his best efforts. After, Jerome working in a state-of-the-art pharmaceutical laboratory, surrounded by graduate-level equipment, his understanding of molecular structures deeper and more practical than he'd ever dreamed possible. The ripple effect begins. Channel 7, Morning Report, 6 months after the scholarship announcement. Harrison Industries announces major expansion of their pharmaceutical technology division, bringing over 200 high-paying jobs to our region, and establishing a training center that will serve multiple states. Jerome watches the broadcast from the company break room, surrounded by colleagues who've become genuine friends and mentors. Sarah Bennett, a fellow intern from the university's engineering program, nudges him with obvious pride. "Still can't believe you're part of building this from day one," she says, shaking her head in amazement. "Some days I can't believe it either," Jerome admits, though his confidence has grown steadily with each successful project, each problem solved, each new skill mastered. Community College Partnership. 3 months later, Jerome stands before a classroom full of pharmaceutical technology students at his former community college, the same program he was struggling to afford less than a year ago. Now he's here as a guest lecturer, sharing real-world applications of their coursework and living proof that their studies lead to meaningful careers. 8 months ago, I was sitting in those exact same seats, he tells the attentive students. Working full-time, worried about tuition payments, wondering if the sacrifice was really worth it. What I learned is that excellence gets noticed, and character opens doors you didn't even know existed. After his presentation, Professor Martinez approaches Jerome with obvious admiration. The students connect with you differently than they do with traditional academic lecturers. Have you ever considered teaching as part of your long-term career development? The suggestion plants a seed Jerome hadn't previously considered. I'd never really thought about it seriously, but maybe that's something worth exploring. Expanding opportunities. Harrison Industries' new Training and Development Center, 4 months after its grand opening. Jerome walks through modern classrooms and cutting-edge laboratories, reviewing quarterly progress reports with Albert during their regular mentoring sessions. Enrollment exceeded our most optimistic projections by 42%, Albert notes with deep satisfaction. And our job placement rate is 94% within 6 months of program completion. Jerome studies the impressive numbers, feeling pride mixed with growing responsibility. The hospital partners are requesting advanced certification programs now, specialized training for cardiac care, pharmaceutical technology, oncology applications, pediatric pharmacy protocols. What's your professional assessment? I think we're not just training technicians anymore, Jerome says thoughtfully. We're creating comprehensive career pathways for people who never had access to these opportunities before. People like I used to be. Generational impact. Evening news feature story, 8 months later. Local success story inspiring others across the region. The camera shows Jerome mentoring Keisha Thompson, a single mother who enrolled in the Harrison program after hearing Jerome's story. Jerome didn't just teach me technical skills and procedures, Keisha tells the reporter, her voice strong with conviction. He showed me that someone like me, from my background, with my challenges and responsibilities, could actually succeed in this professional field. That fundamentally changes how you see yourself and your potential. The news segment includes footage of Keisha confidently operating sophisticated pharmaceutical dispensing equipment at Regional Medical Center, her young daughter watching proudly from the visitor area during a brief tour. The Harrison program didn't just give me a stable career, Keisha continues. It gave my daughter a completely different example of what's possible for our family. Industry recognition. 8 months after starting his new role, Jerome stands on stage at the State Pharmaceutical Association's annual conference, accepting the Emerging Leader in Healthcare Technology Award. Albert watches from the audience, his expression proud but completely unsurprised by Jerome's rapid professional development. This recognition belongs to everyone who believes that opportunity should be based on character and potential, not just background or connections, Jerome says into the microphone. And especially to the man who taught me that sometimes the most important business decisions happen on dark highways in the pouring rain. The camera finds Albert in the audience, who raises his hand in a small acknowledging wave, his eyes bright with genuine emotion and paternal pride. But the most meaningful transformation was still to come. One that would prove kindness truly does travel in perfect circles. 2 years after that life-changing rainy night, Jerome found himself in a position he never could have imagined possible. Interstate 47, late evening. Jerome drives his reliable used sedan, not fancy or luxurious, but dependable and completely paid for, returning from a pharmaceutical technology conference in the state capital where he delivered a keynote presentation on workforce development. Light rain begins pattering against his windshield, triggering vivid memories of another rainy night that changed absolutely everything. Up ahead through the drizzle, familiar hazard lights blink desperately. A car stopped on the shoulder, the driver standing beside it looking frustrated and genuinely worried. Jerome's foot moves automatically to the brake pedal, muscle memory responding before conscious thought. He pulls over safely, approaches with the same careful caution he'd appreciated from Albert 2 years ago. The stranded driver is a young black woman, early 20s, wearing medical scrubs that suggest healthcare work. Her expression carries the particular stress of someone whose entire day has gone completely wrong. "Car trouble?" Jerome asks gently, his voice carrying the same warm concern Albert had shown him. "Flat tire," she replies, voice tight with mounting frustration. and I have absolutely no idea how to change it. I'm supposed to be at work in 45 minutes. I'm a new nurse, still in my probation period. If I'm late again... Jerome nods with complete understanding, remembering his own desperate nights when every minute mattered financially. I can help you. Do you have a spare tire? Relief floods her face like sunrise. Really? Yes, I think so. I'm Andrea, by the way. Andrea Williams. Jerome Washington. And don't worry, we'll definitely get you to work on time. As Jerome works efficiently in the light rain, Andrea holds his flashlight and they talk naturally. She's fresh out of nursing school, working night shifts at the same regional medical center where many Harrison program graduates are now employed. Single mother, working nights to support her daughter while studying for advanced nursing certifications. Some days it's overwhelming, she admits honestly. I wonder if I made the right choice, if I can really handle all the pressure and responsibility. Jerome tightens the final lug nut, remembering his own doubts and fears from what feels like a lifetime ago. What made you choose nursing originally? I want to help people heal, make a real difference in their lives. But the practical stuff, bills, childcare, time management, sometimes it feels completely impossible. Jerome lowers the jack, retrieves his tools with practiced efficiency. Mind if I ask what department you work in? Pediatric pharmacy support. I work directly with the pharmaceutical technicians, making sure medications are prepared correctly for the children. Jerome smiles, feeling the beautiful symmetry of the moment. Andrea, you work with some truly exceptional people. The pharmacy tech program at Regional. It's part of something very special. People who genuinely care about getting everything exactly right, helping kids get better. As she prepares to leave, Jerome reaches into his wallet, pulls out a professional business card. Not as elegant as Albert's had been, but meaningful and authentic. Jerome Washington, Senior Training Coordinator, Harrison Industries Medical Technology Division. If you ever want to learn more about pharmaceutical technology, or if you know anyone who might benefit from our training programs... Andrea accepts the card, studies it with obvious interest. Thank you for this, for everything tonight. Jerome watches her taillights disappear into the rain, then returns to his own car. His phone shows a text from Albert. Board-approved expansion to 3 more states. Ready to change more lives? Jerome types back, always ready, sir. That's exactly what we do. Some circles of kindness have no end. They just keep growing, touching lives in ways we never imagined possible. And that's how one simple act of kindness on a rainy highway became a movement that transformed thousands of lives across multiple states. Jerome's story proves that the smallest moments can create the biggest changes. A flat tire, a missed bus, a split-second decision to stop and help. None of it seemed significant at the time. But kindness has compounded interest, growing and multiplying in ways we never expect. Albert Harrison saw the character of a young man who helped a stranger. Jerome Washington discovered that his integrity was worth more than he'd ever imagined. Together, they built something that transformed not just their own lives, but hundreds of others who needed opportunity more than charity, investment more than sympathy. The next time you see someone who needs help, remember this story. You never know who they might be, or who you might become, because you chose to care. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that goodness still gets rewarded in this world, please like this video. Share it with someone who needs to believe their dreams matter. And don't forget to subscribe to Black Soul Stories and hit that bell icon for more incredible true stories that prove kindness changes everything. What act of kindness will you perform today? Tell us in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone else to believe in the power of helping others.